Last month, Samsung released the new Galaxy S22, S22 Plus, and S22 Ultra as their annual refresh of their flagship lineup. And while the higher end models have all of the fancy new features and latest innovations, they also have super price tags as well. But at just $799, I think the regular S22 would be the phone most of you would be considering if you're looking for a new Android phone. So that's what I chose to use as my daily driver for the past month, and there's a lot to talk about. Starting off with the design, man, it was love at first sight. I got mine in Phantom White and it looks super clean and the phone just looks stunning. This year they put a glass back on the phone rather than the plastic on the S21, which makes the phone look and feel even better. There is a slight downside of using glass, even with the new more durable Gorilla Glass Victus Plus, because glass is glass and glass breaks, but once you see and feel a matte glass finish like on the iPhone 13 Pro, it'll definitely be worth it. Speaking of the iPhone, Samsung also started to use flat edges on their phones with a slight bit of curve, and the tough armor aluminum rails feel really smooth in the hand. And because of the smaller screen size and the lighter weight, this phone is much more comfortable to hold compared to other flagships like the Pixel 6 and the iPhone 13 Pro, which all feel too heavy to me now. There's also a very nice silver metallic finish for the camera bump that wraps around the edges of the phone, and it looks fantastic as well. The sides of the cameras also look like the perfect ratio to the whole phone, and the lenses are all symmetrical with silver rings which make them look beautiful and stand out much more, especially in a case. And the beauty doesn't stop when you flip the phone over. Right away, you get a gorgeous 1080p 120Hz 6.1-inch display with perfectly symmetrical slim bezels. There are so few phones that actually do this, and it just makes the whole design look so much better. The corners are also curved perfectly, and there's only a tiny hole-punch selfie camera on the top, which maximizes the screen size on the phone. And as expected from Samsung, the maker of most phone displays, the panel itself on the S22 is top of the class. The screen is sharp, vibrant and punchy, there's no color casting when you tilt the display, and it also gets extremely bright at up to 1100 nits, especially with their new Vision Booster technology that makes a huge difference in harsh sunlight. I've also noticed that the auto brightness was working really well on this phone, and I didn't have to keep adjusting the brightness manually, which is great. And the 120Hz refresh rate paired with the new animations in OneUI 4 does make the phone feel smoother than ever as well. Unfortunately, it's not an LTPO panel that Samsung initially claimed, but instead an LTPS panel that only drops down to 48Hz, meaning that you don't get as much power efficiency. Watching videos and movies on this phone is an amazing experience though. The dual speakers with Dolby Atmos enabled gives a great wide soundstage and can get pretty loud too for the size of the phone. And finally, we get to the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. It's definitely much better than the more common optical fingerprint readers, being much quicker, more secure, and it's supposed to work even if your fingers are dirty or wet. But once you install a screen protector, this happens. Don't worry about the phone, because you know why? Casetify is here to save the day. Remember those old chunky and ugly OtterBox cases people used to get to protect their phones? Well, now you can get the same great protection of Casetify cases while still maintaining a slim profile and looking good. The cases are approved for a drop from 6.6 feet, and to do this, Casetify uses their innovative Chi-Tech dual-layer impact-absorbing material to line the insides and the corners of the cases. These cases are also very eco-friendly as the impact cases are made from 65% recycled and plant-based materials, and their impact crush cases are made from upcycled phone cases. They all ship in 100% compostable packaging, and they use their Defensify antimicrobial coating to eliminate 99% of bacteria growth by preventing the growth of microbes. And they also have a huge range of design options you'll spend hours and hours scrolling through, and you can even customize your own designs and get them printed. If you're interested in these awesome cases, you guys can save yourself 15% by using the link in the description below. Go check it out because they are awesome. Alright, back to you, Fenton. So, as you saw, if you get this phone, make sure to check the reviews of the screen protectors first, especially the tempered glass ones, and make sure that the fingerprint sensor works with it. I'm gonna try how well it works with film screen protectors, so let me know if you guys have any suggestions down below. Okay, so the hardware all sounds amazing, right? But what's this phone like to actually use? If you're interested, you can find a lot about that in my day in life vlog of the S22, which I will link up here. But anyways, the first thing I personally noticed about this phone was the haptics. Samsung is using a new X-axis vibration motor this year rather than the Z-axis motor, and there's a good and a bad side to that. The haptics do feel more controlled and precise on this phone, especially from how well it's tuned to the UI, and it makes using this phone a much better experience. The downside is the fact that you can't hear the phone buzz on the table or feel it in your pockets anymore when you get calls because of that switch in vibration direction. And while I have a Galaxy Watch 4 to receive notifications, this can be a very frustrating experience for most people and definitely something to keep in your mind. And now let's talk about OneUI. To be honest, it's still not my cup of tea in terms of how it looks and functions, but I have to say, Samsung has gone a long way to improve the software, and as of right now, it's probably the most functional and stable UI on Android, and that's coming from someone who hated OneUI for years. And with the new OneUI 4.1, we do get a lot of nice improvements like smoother and more refined animations, new Material U color theming, a much nicer and simpler camera UI, and finally, a Google Discover page on the home screen. There are still a couple minor complaints I have though, such as notifications being too compact and hard to read, no hotspot toggle in the notification shade, which is just annoying, and there's also no option to search in the app drawer by default. But overall, the S22 has a very solid UI that's only going to get better, and you'll have no issues using it at all. Best of all, Samsung's committing to 4 years of Android updates and 5 years of security updates, which is even longer than Google's Pixel phones themselves. Alright, it's time to talk about cameras, which are now becoming the biggest focus of new phone releases. Although all of the best and most crazy camera hardware went into the S22 Ultra, the S22 and the S22 Plus don't miss out on much and still get a triple camera setup on the back. You get a 50 megapixel main lens, 3x telephoto lens, and an ultra-wide lens as well. Images coming from all three sensors are accurate and consistent across the board, and all have the classic vibrant and punchy Samsung look. The pictures felt a little soft though, especially when compared to something like the Pixel 6, which was quite disappointing. The 50 megapixel high-res mode does work some of the time to enhance the details of the image, but it does mess up the photo once in a while with artifacts and bad dynamic range, especially with the inconsistent detail enhancer mode. The HDR also works great in being able to expose each part of the scene evenly, although Samsung does tend to push the blacks pretty deeply and expose the highlights just before they start clipping for that punchier look. That's actually an issue that I noticed on the S22, especially during indoor shots where highlights started to be overblown, which ruined the image. But that's something Samsung would be able to fix in a software update, and they do have a good track record for that. What impressed me was how well Samsung's portrait mode was. Using their new AI stereo depth mapping feature, the phone is able to create near perfect cutouts of both people and objects, and the results really do speak for themselves. Another improvement with this camera was in night mode, and the photos coming from the phone actually look pretty great. Images are mostly sharp and noise-free, but I would say that the highlights do need to be toned down sometimes to prevent them from being blown out. Images also usually look accurate to the scene, with pretty accurate white balance, which can be an issue on some other phones. And although it's not quite iPhone level, the video quality on the Samsung S22 is also great. The video looks sharp with plenty of detail, great HDR, and punchy colors. The stabilization on the phone is also pretty impressive due to their new OIS technology, which is pretty impressive. The selfie camera can also shoot up to 4K 60, and the mic honestly sounds pretty good. And when it comes to night video, it's still pretty decent, but this is where the S22 falls behind with more noise and jittery stabilization. I know I kinda glossed over the details about this camera, but if you're interested, I do have a full detailed comparison of this camera versus the Pixel 6, and you can check it out up here. But before we move on, I also shot a short little B-roll montage with this camera to test out its video capabilities. And here's where all good things come to an end: battery life. Honestly, this was going to be the absolute perfect Android flagship to take on the iPhone in terms of design, cameras, and hardware, but with the new power-hungry Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, Samsung's poor battery optimization, and its tiny 3700 mAh battery that's put into this phone just cannot last you through the day, especially if you're using it outside of data all the time. I'm not even much of a heavy user, and I usually just text and check social media, yet I'm only getting just over 3, sometimes 4 hours of screen on time if I'm lucky. You also do lose quite a bit of battery life from standby, and you'll definitely need to recharge the phone throughout the day, which can get really annoying. You can get around 55% in 30 minutes of charging and a full charge in around an hour and 15 minutes, but that's just not fast enough to make up for the short battery life. And for this reason, I honestly just can't recommend this phone because battery life is such an important aspect of a phone, and if it can't last long enough to get you through the day, it's honestly not a good choice, especially for the long run. The bigger S22 Plus is like $200 more for basically the same incredible experience and can last longer, but again, it's $1,000 and that's a tough pill to swallow. But anyways, that's the end of the video, and if you like this video, please smash that like button down below and subscribe because I've got an awesome comparison coming up with the S22 and the Pixel 6, which you definitely wouldn't want to miss out on. But anyways, have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.